So now students, we are going to study about our next topic in this chapter, that is 9/11 and the global war on terror. अब हम सबको 9/11 अटैक्स के बारे में मालूम है, जब वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर वाज कोलैप्स्ड, द वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर के अंदर 2 प्लेन्स क्रैश हुए थे जिसकी वजह से पूरा वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर हैड कोलैप्स्ड. We have watched movies about this, we have seen TV shows about this, and we have read a lot of fiction and non-fiction about this particular attack. This was the most severe attack on US soil since US's independence, which was in the 18th century. So now हम पढ़ेंगे step wise कि what exactly happened during the 9/11 attacks and what was this global war on terror जो George W. Bush, who was the president during this attack, had actually launched. So what was the 9/11 and what was the global war on terror? हम ये पढ़ेंगे इस particular section में. Number 1, September 11, 2001. 9/11 attacks means 9 denotes the number of months and 11th is the date. That is the US way of writing their dates. Alright. So September 11, 2001 is date पर the world's most gruesome, the world's most politically shaking attack happened on United States of America. September 11, 2001 के दिन 19 hijackers who had come from various Arab countries had hijacked 4 commercial aircrafts, 4 commercial aeroplanes in United States, and very soon after the takeoff 4 ऐसे aircrafts थे, 4 ऐसे aeroplanes थे जिसमें 19 hijackers ने जो अरब कंट्रीज से आते थे, जो मिडिल ईस्ट कंट्रीज से आ रहे थे, these 19 hijackers hijacked these 4 different commercial aeroplanes within a few minutes of takeoff. जैसे ही वो take off हुए planes from their particular airports, these 4 commercial jets, these 4 commercial planes were actually hijacked by 19 hijackers. So these 19 hijackers जो Arab countries से आए थे, they were on a suicide mission. These 19 hijackers flew these 4 aeroplanes into important buildings in the USA. As a particular hijacker, जो भी वो, they were on a suicide mission in each of these planes. They had to crash. They actually came with the aim to crash into important buildings in the USA. जो buildings symbolize करती हैं USA की power, जो buildings बहुत important है. They are very important economic structures. They are very important economic, particular like physical structures which actually tell us about USA's superpower. That USA की जो power symbolize करते हैं, वो important buildings पे ये वो सारे aircraft crash करना चाहते थे. They were on a suicide mission. ठीक है? So these commercial aircraft were hijacked by these hijackers who came from Arab countries, and these hijackers were on a suicide mission, and they had to basically crash into important buildings of the USA. Now कौन सी airplane कौन सी building में crash हुआ? जो पहले 2 aircraft थे, 1 airliner each. एक aircraft North Tower of the World Trade Center में crash हुआ, दूसरा एयरप्लेन साउथ टावर ऑफ द वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर में क्रैश हुआ. वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर इज अ मेजर ट्रेडिंग सेंटर, was a major trading center in New York, in USA, which held a lot of economic importance. This was a very, very important building to the USA, and World Trade Center के collapse was like one of the most gruesome attacks on the USA since its independence. Alright, so एक एयरलाइनर नॉर्थ टावर में क्रैश हुआ ऑफ द वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर, दूसरा एयरलाइनर साउथ टावर में क्रैश हुआ ऑफ द वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर. थर्ड एयरलाइनर, द थर्ड एयरक्राफ्ट था, जो द कमर्शियल एयरक्राफ्ट था, that crashed in Pentagon. Pentagon is the US, Pentagon is basically a big structure. It is a pentagonal shaped building, a structure जहाँ पर US के डिफेंस का हेडक्वार्टर है. ठीक है. This means that the US defense headquarters, their base, their all whatever military headquarters that they have, Pentagon is the military headquarter of USA, जहाँ पर थर्ड एयरक्राफ्ट क्रैश हुआ था. This military headquarter, this US defense headquarter called Pentagon is situated in Arlington, Virginia. Alright, so the third aircraft था वो पेंटागन में क्रैश हुआ. जो फोर्थ एयरक्राफ्ट था, which it was actually presumably, ऐसा presumed है कि वो it was bound for the Capitol building. Capitol building is the building जहाँ पर कांग्रेस, जो US का कांग्रेस है, that functions. Alright, so the Capitol building जो चौथा एयरप्लेन था वो it was actually going to crash into Capitol building, but it actually came down in a field in Pennsylvania. So it actually did not crash into Capitol building. It came down. It actually crashed into a field in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is also a state. Alright, so ये सारे जो चार hijacked commercial aircraft थे वो इन सारे जगहों के इन सारे important buildings की तरफ bound थे. 3 of them crashed into important buildings and one of them, which was bound for the Capitol building, did not actually crash into it. It came down in a field in Pennsylvania. Alright, अब इस 9/11 अटैक में 3000 से ज्यादा लोग मरे. वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर जब गिरा उस टाइम पे इतनी ज्यादा पैनिक वाली सिचुएशन थी. उस टाइम everybody in the world was actually sympathizing with the US, was actually crying, was actually feeling very distraught about what was happening in the USA. 3000 से ज्यादा लोग मर गए. This was the biggest attack on the US soil since US got independence in 1776. So इतने ज्यादा लोग आज तक यूएसए में एक बार में कभी नहीं मरे थे, एंड 3000 से ज्यादा लोग मर गए थे बिकॉज ऑफ दिस 9/11 अटैक. So this was the most severe attack on the US soil since USA got independence in 1776. अब चौथा पॉइंट, उस टाइम पे बिल क्लिंटन का सक्सेसर था George W. Bush. He was the son of George H.W. Bush, who was the president previously during the first Gulf War. Alright, so the George W. Bush, who was the president after Bill Clinton, he, as a response to the 9/11 attacks, launched an Operation Enduring Freedom. Alright, this Operation Enduring Freedom was a part of USA's global war on terror. जब 9/11 अटैक्स हुए, USA was very distraught, USA was very angry कि इतना बड़ा अटैक हमने कैसे होने दिया in our soil, in our land. So जब George W. Bush became the president, he launched this Operation Enduring Freedom as a quick, swift response to the 9/11 attacks, which was such a huge deal to American people. Alright. And George W. Bush actually declared a global war on terror. Alright, they declared war on terrorism because of this 9/11 attacks. Because near 19 hijackers जो terrorist organization Al-Qaeda से आए थे, इस particular terrorist organization को they wanted कि ऐसी terrorist organizations world में exist करे ही ना. ठीक है, so George W. Bush actually launched an Operation Enduring Freedom, which was a part of USA's global war on terror. They declared war on terrorism कि हम किसी भी तरह से terrorism को fight करेंगे in this world. Alright, so Operation Enduring Freedom was a part of that global war on terrorism. अब ये ऑपरेशन एंड्योरिंग फ्रीडम क्या था? ऑपरेशन एंड्योरिंग फ्रीडम was a mission, was an operation against the suspects behind the 9/11 attacks, mainly who were Al-Qaeda and Taliban regime in Afghanistan. ठीक है, so ये ऑपरेशन एंड्योरिंग फ्रीडम was primarily against suspects behind the 9/11 attacks. जो suspects थे, जो लोग माने गए थे कि इन्हीं लोग ने, अल-कायदा और तालिबान रजीम जो अफगानिस्तान में तालिबान का कंट्रोल है और अलकायदा टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, इन दोनों ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, अलकायदा एंड द तालिबान regime, these two were mainly held responsible for the 9/11 attacks, and enduring जो ऑपरेशन enduring freedom था वो इन लोगों के अगेंस्ट था, वो इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के अगेंस्ट था, बिकॉज माना गया था कि इन्हीं लोगों ने, एंड ये एक्चुअली अलकायदा एंड तालिबान regime ही were the two main causes of the 9/11 attacks. All right. So, as a part of the Operation Enduring Freedom, what happened was, जो तालिबान regime था in Afghanistan, that was overthrown. ठीक है? US के actions के साथ, US से this particular Operation Enduring Freedom, इस operation के दौरान उन्होंने तालिबान regime को overthrow किया from Afghanistan, but however the remnants, मतलब अलकायदा एंड तालिबान regime के कुछ ऐसे लोग या कुछ ऐसी जो कुछ सब ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस है वो आज भी एग्जिस्ट करती हैं वर्ल्ड में. they have not completely been overthrown, they have not completely been they have not completely been rooted out from the world. All right. So जो अलकायदा टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है उसके भी काफी लोग या काफी रेमनेंट्स, काफी ऐसे कुछ कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस अभी भी पोटेंट हैं, अभी भी एग्जिस्ट करती हैं, एंड दे आर क्वाइट एक्टिव ऑल्सो. ऑलराइट. जैसे कि हमें इनकी एक्टिवनेस का कैसे पता चलता है, बिकॉज वेस्टर्न सिविलाइजेशन, जो वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज हैं उस पे सिंस दिस अटैक, सिंस 9/11 अटैक, there have been several other terrorist attacks which have been conducted, which have happened in the world, in the Western countries since 9/11 attacks. So कहते हैं कि अभी भी अलकायदा और तालिबान regime के कुछ लोग अभी भी जिंदा हैं, कुछ लोग अभी भी exist करते हैं, and they are quite active also. Alright. So this particular Taliban regime was overthrown, but still they exist in the world. Now the last point, US forces made arrests without knowledge of government of persons arrested and detained them in secret prisons. अब as a part of the Operation Enduring Freedom, what happened was, ये एक बहुत ही extreme step था जो जॉर्ज W. बुश ने लिया था. इस Operation Freedom के दौरान क्या हुआ कि USA ने all over the world they made a lot of arrests. उन्होंने बहुत ऐसे लोगों को अरेस्ट किया जो भी उनको by visual appearance they thought that this person can be a suspect behind 9/11 attacks. Alright, they actually made a lot of arrests around the world. US की army, US की military, US के forces ने इतने सारे arrests में किए, इतने सारे लोगों को arrest किया without, and these people who were arrested, इनकी खुद की governments को नहीं पता था कि ये arrest हो गए हैं. ठीक है, इनकी गवर्नमेंट को कुछ भी इंफॉर्मेशन या कुछ भी नॉलेज नहीं थी कि ये लोग कहाँ हैं. ठीक है, उन्होंने बहुत ही अनफेयर मीन्स के साथ उनको बिल्कुल कुछ भी प्रोविजन नहीं दिया. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल हाउ वी हैव स्टडीड इन आवर ओन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, इवन सम अरेस्टेड पर्सन हैज अ फ्यू राइट्स. ठीक है, एक बंदा जब अरेस्ट होता है ही शुड बी टोल्ड the grounds on which he is being arrested. He should be produced in a judicial magistrate within 24 hours of his arrest. But these provisions were not followed by the US after 9/11. They actually arrested anybody they thought that can be behind the 9/11 attacks, and they did not even inform the government of that person जहाँ से वो belong करता है. उस बंदे की country या उस बंदे की country की government को ये पता भी नहीं था कि वो कहाँ है. ठीक है. And these people who were arrested from all over the world, these people were actually detained in secret prisons. कुछ ऐसे secret prisons रखे थे USA ने जहाँ पर इन सारे arrested लोगों को उन्होंने detain करके रखा था. इन detained लोगों के पास कुछ rights नहीं थे. These people were not even given rights of, they were not given rights of their base, like they were not even given according to the international law. They were not given any protection. उनको किसी भी प्रकार की protection नहीं मिली थी by international law, by the US's law, or by the law of their own country, or by the, and these people who were arrested and put behind bars and detained in these secret prisons were actually tortured. वो एक्चुअली मतलब इतना ज़्यादा टॉर्चर करते थे इनको इन इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए, लाइक वेरी अनफेयर मीन्स ऑफ टॉर्चर. These particular practices of torture are not even allowed in the world, yet these torture practices were actually were actually practiced in these secret prisons to get information about the 9/11 attacks. But most of these people were actually innocent. USA ने बहुत ही ओवरली enthusiastic अप्रोच रखा था enduring freedom ऑपरेशन enduring freedom के दौरान, जब उन्होंने किसी whoever they suspected, they did not even follow proper lawful procedures. They just arrested people जो उनको लग रहे हैं कि ये suspects है 9/11 के, और उनको secret prison से बंद कर दिया था. One example of this secret prison was Guantanamo Bay, which is a very famous prison, a very famous secret prison जो US naval base में है, जो क्यूबा में. This Guantanamo Bay is actually situated in Cuba, the country Cuba, which is just south of USA. यहाँ पर क्यूबा में एक US naval base है, and उस US naval base में ये secret prison है Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay पे बहुत movies भी बन चुकी है. Guantanamo Bay पे बहुत सारे proper reports and like a proper UN convention also came for Guantanamo Bay for like its shutting down. And Guantanamo Bay, which was a secret prison, जहाँ पर ये सारे लोग, सारे arrested people were detained, यहाँ पर उनको बंद करके torture किया जाता था for information regarding the 9/11 attacks, because these people were suspected to be, these were the suspects behind the 9/11 attacks, and these people would not, इनको किसी भी प्रकार की protection नहीं मिलती थी by the US law, by the international law, or by the law of their own countries. All right, even United Nations के representatives were not allowed to see these prisoners. They were not allowed. The United Nations के representatives जो देखना चाहते थे कि ये लोग कहाँ पर हैं, ये detainees कहाँ पर हैं, उनको भी allowed नहीं था इन arrested लोगों को meet करने में, इन लोगों को मिलने के लिए. ठीक है. So these people the USA made a lot of arrests. They detained these people in secret prisons like Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay, अभी जब President Obama was elected for the president, like when he was elected as the president of USA, that was the time, that recent time when actually Guantanamo Bay was shut down completely. All right, and this detention of people in these secret prisons was unlawful, was actually very very arbitrary. ये बिल्कुल भी अलाउड नहीं होता, उनको किसी भी प्रकार की प्रोटेक्शन नहीं मिली, उनको किसी भी प्रकार की रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं मिली, and they were not even let go. All right, so this was a very 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 extreme measure taken by USA as a part of Operation Enduring Freedom. Understandably, yes, they had to do. USA actually, overstepped its bounds, overstepped its limits while actually launching the Operation Enduring Freedom. They became overly enthusiastic for catching the perpetrators for 9/11 attacks, and they got misled, and in this confusion and in this mission to actually find the perpetrators responsible for 9/11, they actually detained and tortured a lot of innocent people. All right, so that was the 9/11 and the global war on terror. अब हमें पता चल गया है कि 9/11 में क्या हुआ था, 9/11 attacks क्या थे. वो 9/11 attacks बहुत it was like the most severe attack on US soil, and it included 4 commercial aircraft which were hijacked by 19 hijackers who had come from Arab countries. इसके बाद उन्होंने ये 4 aircraft कहाँ पर crash किए. Then it led to a lot of loss of lives, and then as a part of the global war on terror, Operation Enduring Freedom was launched, and then Al-Qaeda and Taliban regime were overthrown, but still there are some remnants of these terrorist organizations that still remains, and a lot of unlawful detentions were made, a lot of torture methods, a lot of torture practices were followed by the USA, and people who were arrested, they were not given protection by any law of the land. So this was what comprised the 9/11 attacks and the global war on terror.